Yes, a very good evening, and you are very welcome to a brand new show here on WLR on Monday evenings. This is The Sporting Life, where we're going to feature a special guest each week, and I'm delighted to welcome into our Dungarvan studios this afternoon well-known West Waterford athlete Kate VEALE, who's our first guest on our new show. So Kate, you have the position. Great to have you on board.
Thanks very much. I'm honoured to be here.
Great stuff. Kate, you've been in and out before. I know you did a piece with our own Matt Keane a few years back, and it's been great following your progress. And great to be able to, I suppose, have you on this evening. And I suppose it's a general chit chat, so we'll take you right back to the beginning. Obviously, athletics is something you're really strong about. You have an immense passion for it, and that comes across, I suppose, in the way you perform as well. How did you first get, I suppose, bitten by the athletics bug, or how did it all begin?
Yeah, well, I think at home, seeing my dad being so involved in athletics definitely had a big influence. I think environment is so important. Environment is key, really, and what you're around and what you see, I suppose, and what you surround yourself with then when you get older. But that definitely had a big impact on me. I would have tried lots of different sports, tried a bit of everything really, and I just loved the challenge of athletics. I suppose maybe for me the individual aspect of it suited me better. And I wasn't winning all around me when I was young. I wasn't by any means a standout person that people would have said, well, this one is going to be good. But I think I just had a good work ethic, and I just enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the challenges of it, and so just went from there.
Absolutely, yeah. And as someone grown up as well, were you one of these kids who had a go at everything? You say at that age you just try out everything. It's about just enjoying it, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's great for kids, just to put them into everything and let them try everything. That's the best way, and they can learn something from everything. And when they're young, it's just the fundamental kind of movement skills and the social aspect and stuff, and the things they can learn about life, because so many of the qualities of sports you can transfer to whatever area of life, and it's just a great foundation for whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, you touched on your dad James there as well. We may as well bring him into the equation early in the piece, I suppose, because he's had such an influence on you. He's so passionate about it, and he's been, I suppose, following your every footstep, I suppose, pardon the pun, but the influence, I suppose, of both your dad and mum, I suppose, on your career, we'll say.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky, and really appreciating the support that I have. I definitely wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without them, and they really understand the sport, and they understand the demands of it and what it takes, and just the way you have to be, and the things you have to do. So I'm very lucky with all the help. As I said, it's and through all the lots of bad times, and lots of they were there through it all, and it just makes me, I suppose, extra motivated, because it's kind of like an extra reason on why I'm doing it. And my daughter Fina as well, I've great support. My family, it's a whole it's not just for me. Even though it's an individual sport, it's so important that there's a team around me and you have that support. So I'm very grateful. My dad is out on the bike with me, out doing 25, 30 kilometres, and it's a long time, out on the bike, and especially the winter coming in, and he does it without any complaints, and he's just there for any of the, I suppose, as I said, the struggles that come along with it.
Absolutely. That support and encouragement is always needed. And you touched on Fina there as well, who's probably starting out in her own sporting ventures, I suppose, at the minute. Where's she now, school-wise and age-wise, things like that, Kate?
Yeah, so she's going to be 7 in January, and she's in first class. And I just like to have her trying everything. It's kind of, I don't want to push her into one sport, or not even sport, but just try everything. And she loves she's real active and real kind of a get up and go. She's a big personality, so it's good for her to be involved in things. And it's great now with COVID and stuff that actually things are opening up again, and it was a hard year with nothing on for children.
Yeah, it certainly was. And she's in Garnbane National School, I believe.
Yeah. So
happy out?
Yeah, loved it up there. It's great. Yeah.
Very good. And of course, your dad is steeped in West Waterford Athletic Club, of course, still involved there as the PRO. His weekly notes, I suppose, we've become synonymous with in the local papers as well. And I'm not sure how many marathons, and he's been all over the place, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done a lot of the major city marathons. Yeah. And it was just, I suppose, when I was younger, I would have seen him train for, it was just a normal thing on a Sunday morning for him to go out and do like a 22 or 24 mile run, and it was seeing him every evening going out for runs. And for me, I suppose, seeing that what you need to put into it and the work ethic definitely rubbed off on me. Yeah. And it becomes, I suppose, the norm. It becomes what's normal, and
Great stuff, and a big sportsman as well. We often see James over at for her field or following the traits of Abbeyside and Ballyporty. He loves the GA as well.
Yeah, also he's since
sports, I suppose
since matches are back, he's just constantly on the go. Yeah, to matches. But yeah, he would have played golf, would have been captain of the Gold Coast Golf Club, and would be into soccer, season ticket in with Waterford United, and all sports. To be honest, the golf, mad watching the golf. He could be up at all hours watching different sports.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a sports mad house as well, which I suppose always helps, really, doesn't it? And people, be it tuning into games or wishing you luck as you're heading off to races as well. It's nice to have that camaraderie, I suppose, as well, isn't it? Yeah,
it makes all the difference. It makes such an impact. It's what you have around you, and that support structure and just the understanding of what you're doing. It means the world. You wouldn't be doing it without that.
Definitely, yeah. Well, just goes to show the importance of family, which we might come back to a little bit later in the piece. But we might start off maybe with St Augustine's College, with your secondary school education, and that's where I suppose athletics, again, you really thrive there as well, and got great support there as well, I'm sure, Kate.
Yeah, again, I was very, very lucky that brother Patrick Lennon, who has a big interest in athletics and all the sports, saw me and knew I might be good at racewalking. He has such a good eye for technique, and up to this point I was always running. It was all mostly cross country for me, and he kind of threw me into a walk at like a school's event, and I just found I kind of got the technique a bit more natural maybe than some people might, it kind of was I didn't really think, to be honest, I was that I was going to continue with it. It was kind of more running to me was the number one and the thing I wanted to pursue, then I just fell in love with racewalk, and I think I loved the extra challenge of it, the technical aspect. It's different, it's different. To be honest, it's harder than running. People mightn't realise, but it's kind of a science and an art together. It's so I kind of enjoyed the extra challenge of it, I think.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because it is a niche sport, and as you say, there's a lot of technical, I suppose, training and stuff in it, and getting that balance right as well. Was it something that you kind of got hooked on straight away?
Yeah, definitely. It was something that I just really was interested in improving all the time, and learning new things and learning new ways of training, and just started looking up a lot of stuff online and stuff of how others do it, and seeing the biomechanics of things, how the body moves, how the body works, and how being efficient and being strong and able to hold your technique. And I just kind of fell in love with that there was so much room for improvement and so many things that I could work on to improve technique, because when you get tired near the end of a race, it's very easy that your technique can just fall apart, and if you're not strong enough and you don't have, I suppose, the work done on it, it's a disaster, because you can get disqualified. So that's what I do like about it. I think the end of the race for me, or the hard part, is where I nearly thrive, or what I look forward to, because that's where, and it's such a mental game too, in that you have to, your head has to be so focused on what you're doing. Yeah,
absolutely. And brings it back to, I suppose, athletics and race walking. And I think we're only chatting about it with somebody at a match the other day, about the discipline sport that's in athletics, that self-motivation, that hours of work behind the scenes, and driving yourself, really. You're the main motivator there. How can you maybe talk us through maybe that aspect of it?
Yeah, I suppose it looked like team sports and individual sports, there's pros and cons to it, but for me, some people say to me, "Oh, you're very motivated," and I'm like, I'm not always. It's not that even this morning I had a 15k to do. It's lashing rain, it's windy. I got up and I don't want to go out. And I'll admit that there's days I love the sport, but it causes more. There's more, I suppose, bad days than good days. But it makes the good days worth it. But back to the question. I think it's more the routine and the habit. It just becomes your life. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes like that there is no other. It's kind of like it's a psychological thing, really, in that I just say to myself, there's no other choice. You want to do this. If the motivation actually really comes from the action, I think putting actions into place and the doing of something, and that gives you momentum, and it gets you more into flow. And you have to. It's all a process, so you have to just trust the process, really, and believe. And keep the belief, because motivation is fickle. There's times you're not going to. If you're going to rely on that, you're definitely not going to make it as an athlete. So I think sometimes motivation can be, I don't know what you call it, overrated or whatever, but it's more so developing a work ethic, developing resilience, and developing kind of confidence, in your abilities. And I think just the the showing up, you know. For me, it's actually just the showing up, and you know, you have to have patience, and it's definitely not a linear, you know, rise up to, you know, to be successful in whatever you're doing. So I think it's just showing up day in, day out, and sometimes it's just about doing the boring stuff, you know. It's consistently getting out and just doing it, and you know, I think it's not just about doing your hour of training a day or whatever. For me, I'm doing twice a day, and it's the training part nearly not as the easiest, but it's the stuff outside of the 2 times I'm training in the day that I have to manage and control all the time, you know, to recover, because you're constantly thinking of recovery and you're constantly thinking of being ready for the next session, and so it's a balancing act. So yeah, and then your motivation, I think, comes from that then, because you've put in the work, and it kind of rises you to new heights, and you see what you can do, you get more confidence, and it's like a, you know, then that's the momentum in it. Yeah, it rolls on, as you say, and the structures even within that then, in terms of, as you say, it isn't just going out doing those 2 runs, it's recovery now, I suppose, with foam rollers, eating the right, you know, diet, proper stuff and things like that, you know. It's a whole journey really, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. It's a process, and it's kind of a, you know, as I said, it's a lot of the time simple things. There isn't a magic, you know, a magic secret or whatever. Yeah. It's about just getting out and doing, you know, like I think some people can romanticize the plans and then they kind of can dread the execution, but it's about doing, the day-to-day stuff. And, you know, for me, I can look at other, you know, countries like the likes of the Russians or the Chinese who have like high performance, full-time, just their setup, and it's like, if I want to compete with them, it's what I have to do, you know. I'm going to have to make my own you know, high performance setup, which I'm very lucky that I feel I have done, and I trust the people around me. So yeah, that's where the sport has gone. It's very, you know, professional, and if you want to you know, compete at that, that's what you have to do. But you know, it's kind of, I suppose, how you know, the narrative you put to it, or how you think about it. You know, I kind of always think it's like, I'm actually very lucky to be doing this. I kind of, you know, it's not I have to do this, I get to do this, and you know, that there's so much satisfaction, I suppose, that can be gotten out of the struggle and the pain because of what you know, get out of it, and the learning, and so it's, I suppose, just what way you kind of look at it. Very good, yeah, excellent. We might take you back to 2009. I suppose just before that as well, your early years of race walking, which you discovered was something for you, and you know, you had a passion for, you had a love for, you worked hard at that, and I suppose you set records galore in every age, school and national and things like that. And I suppose everything was probably going according to plan. Everything was rosy in the garden, if it would be fair to say, at that stage, Kate. Yeah, definitely. It was each year from, I suppose, when I was maybe 13 up until 18. Each year I was improving, broke all the records underage and at you know, schools, and at you know, the track and field nationals, and I would have got European Rising Star, which was, you know, a big deal, and would have been the first ever Irish athlete to win a World Youths, and you know, so there was a lot of, it was all good, and I was I suppose it was kind of just going up and up and up, and then it was like, after that, like the bubble burst, or the it completely kind of changed around, and it's something that I definitely wasn't prepared for, or wasn't able to deal with at the time, because for me it was, I suppose, I couldn't maybe deal with me not winning. It felt like a failure to me. It was a bad attitude at, you know, looking back, but seeing when the struggle came, I got a hip injury when I was 18, and things definitely turned around. Just because it happens, I suppose, in all walks of life, and all sports, and injury prevention and stuff like that, which we'll touch on a little bit later on. But to go back to the World Youth title back in 2011 even, you claimed it over there in Lille in France, where you won the World Youth Championships over 5 kilometres, and that great reception, I suppose, back in Dungarvan a few evenings later. I remember being there myself. I think my late grandfather Rory Wiley would have been there taking photographs the same evening. So I suppose there must be great memories still, though, to look back on. Yeah, definitely. At the time, I definitely didn't appreciate it, because at the time, I suppose I was always looking for the next thing. I always wanted the next thing, and I was always kind of wanting more, and probably not happy, or you know, just because I suppose maybe I would have perfectionist tendencies, so I'd be kind of all or nothing, you know, black and white thinking. So it was always kind of like, on to the next thing. You know, it was never really good enough. But looking back, you know, I'm very, very lucky and very privileged to have had the opportunities that I've had. And you know, I think any time going out and competing for your country, and even remembering hearing like the national anthem, there was like a Chinese second and a Russian third, and there was a really famous Olympic medalist, a Kenyan, who gave me my medal, and he said to me one day, he was like, "You will be Olympic champion." And just you know, things amazing, I probably took for granted back then, you know, and it's only now, and I think you appreciate things more when you go through, you know, tough times and you struggle with things. I think then it makes the good times worth it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. 2011, it seems like I suppose a long time ago now, but it was a brilliant occasion as well, and to have that backing of support here as well. Dungarvan, I suppose, is a great sporting town. You know, your name, anytime, you know, races, people wishing you well, and you know, to have that support as well. West Waterford Athletic Club as well, no doubt, being huge as well. To have that backing and support.
Yeah, people are great. Like, people are fantastic. Just like, you know, it makes such a difference to me, even when I'm out training sometimes or whatever. People might, you know, give a comment or you know, just the day-to-day, and it's really nice, you know, that you feel you have, you know, that support. And it definitely helps with when you're sometimes going through, you know, hard, you know, the tough training and stuff, and you think of that, and it's kind of like you want to do it for the people as well, the people, you know, like your family and the people around you and the people of your town. And but yeah, it's very important that you, I suppose, don't forget your roots, and don't forget what kind of who made you and what made you the way you are, and you know, appreciate those. And like, I always, you know, it's looking back on the people, like my, you know, early coaches and stuff like that shaped me into the, you know, the athlete and the person I am. You know, I really appreciate that. And just, I suppose there's no place like home when you can't beat the people from home. And I'm definitely very proud to be from Dungarvan and Abbeyside. I'll say Abbeyside.
Better get that right anyway.
And Waterford and Ireland. And you know, it's because when you're away and stuff, you're kind of nearly known sometimes as, oh, the Irish girl, or the, you know, and it's kind of nice, and you want to put on that singlet and do it justice, you know, and because it is such a privilege and an honour, and you want to, it kind of gets you into that fighting spirit. Like, I sometimes think of races as like, you know, it's like going to war, kind of, you know what I mean? That's the kind of mentality you have. It's kind of like, I'm prepared to die here to get the most out of myself, kind of a thing. And that's, you know, the kind of mindset going into a race. And that's what you want to do. You kind of, you know, honour the struggle, like pain is a privilege, kind of a thing, you know. So I just feel very, very lucky where I'm from and the club I'm in and all the people around me. Definitely it makes a massive difference. I know when you get out there and you're on the start line, you are on your own. It can be a lonely place when things are tough, and but there is such a a backroom and team behind all that, you know, as well.
Definitely. And as you say, coaches then, no doubt, big influence on your career. Anyone, I suppose, in particular stand out, if you want to go right back to the beginning and maybe guys you're working with now, of course, because I suppose you have had great backing and support.
Yeah, and I really think you can learn something from everyone. And you know, Tony Schlew would have been the cross country coach back in the club, and there was Mary Ash and then Brother Lennon, and very lucky with Jamie Costin after being to Olympics. And I think that's kind of success breeds success. You know, I looked at Jamie and he was from my club, and that he had went to Olympics, so it makes you kind of see what's possible. I think when there's someone in, you know, sometimes I would have looked at racewalking and, you know, on the Olympics, and again I would have thought of, you know, some of the bigger countries, and that nearly the people doing it aren't human or something, you know, that they have superpowers or something. Whereas when you actually see someone, you know, whatever normal is, what you might call normal from home, and seeing that with hard work what they did, it makes you believe. So very lucky with Jamie and learned so much from him, and then very lucky with Rob Heffernan and all that group. Like, you know, Rob is known in racewalking circles worldwide, and just learning from him and his mindset and attitude and the way he looks at things. And he would have had a coach from Poland, so would have been influenced by that. So that's the way his thinking is, you know, kind of probably from that kind of structure that they had over there. And it's all very interesting, and it's great. And that's what you know, I think is another just exciting factor for me, is that I feel I'm not where I can be, or I'm not after reaching my potential, and that's what keeps me going. I feel there's been a lot of you know, with injuries and just mentally it's been tough, and I think by learning all the time and improving all the time and being aware of stuff and managing things, I feel I have a lot more to give and a lot more it just it gives me motivation, I suppose, that and I suppose I believe that I can be better, and that's exciting that you can go out every day and be like, okay, what can I improve on today? There's always something to be working on, there's always something to be learning and improving on, and so like I can see that environment is key in who you surround yourself with. And the group of lads that Rob coaches, being away on camp with them and learning a lot from them, who are Olympians, and just training with them and living with them, and it's the day-to-day seeing and being part of that, and it makes such a difference.
Great stuff. All big influences, no doubt, Kate, and more influences to come. 2012, then you won a top class junior race in Switzerland and also finished third in the European Cup junior walk. And in 2018, of course, you claimed glory, a top class race on the streets of Manchester, and since that time claimed all the All-Ireland Championships. In fact, there is for women. And despite this, you were being troubled by this hip injury as well, but all that success as well, I suppose, was something you probably got used to, I suppose, at that stage. Was it fair to say that?
When I was younger, I think it was, for me, it was all about times. It was nearly kind of racing against myself when I was in Ireland, because it was like I wanted to see how fast I was going to go. And when I was young, there was a gap, I suppose, there between me and some of the others. And then, but it's good now because there's a lot of young girls coming up and coming through, and that's really good for me, because it's good to have people who are like climbing up the ladder, and I think everyone drives everybody on, and that's good. And it's always so nice to win a national title, and just very lucky. But the other thing is, I suppose I want to do it internationally. It's kind of, there's a bigger world out there than Ireland, and it's kind of where racewalking's at in some other countries. That's who I want to be competing against. So again, then there's a big gap again from winning a nationals to going out there and doing it on the world stage, and that's where it's at, and that's where I was before. And then it was difficult not being there and not being on that stage, I suppose. And now it's just exciting for me to try and to get back there and I suppose push the limits and see what I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and all I suppose injuries and setbacks, and I know you shared an article, I think it's probably a few years ago now, about the setbacks and I suppose troubles, and maybe there was a bit of worry there maybe at times as well about maybe trying to get back up to that maybe peak level and that peak performance, Kate.
Yeah, definitely. I think the injury was a massive blow to me, because athletics was my whole life and everything revolved around it, and I think every single decision I made was, is this going to be good for my athletics, and life was kind of put on hold. It was just all about, I suppose, winning races. And now I see it's actually about the journey and the process, and there's so much more to it. And so the injury, I suppose, the uncertainty of it and trying to control it when I couldn't, and the worry and the confusion with it. And you can go to specialists and they're kind of like, oh, I don't know how much more we can do for you. And that you've a structural problem, and then the part of my hip that was injured was causing other issues. And it's really, really hard to not be able to do what you love and what you want to do and your passion, and you feel it's just the most frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. But I think now it's things aren't perfect, and I see that everyone, no matter what, has their struggles and has their limitations and has their strengths and weaknesses, and it's about just working with that. So that's a kind of a fun thing to do. I used to always think it had to be this or and I was very all or nothing, as I said. But now I see you kind of have to adapt things. You have to improvise, and that to be changing the mindset of being more about solution orientated than problem orientated, and kind of just making it work. It's like, you find a way, and I suppose just embracing the struggle. And I think it's a privileged position to be able to still be involved in the sport when specialists or and myself thought that I wouldn't be able to get back to that level. Things are not ideal, but I'm learning all the time. And again, very lucky. I've with the likes of David Gray is every week I'm down with him doing different.
See that, yeah. Great setup down there as well. He has,
absolutely brilliant, and I really wouldn't be where I am without him, because he's keeping my body in the best shape, kind of. And kind of the injury wise, he's keeping it and always just improving on things. And I think there's still a lot of work to do, but I just have to be patient with it and have to accept where I'm at, and that this is it's a long term thing. It's about consistently doing it over weeks and weeks and months, and that's what you have to do.
Great stuff, great stuff. And of course, this year you're back into the routine of, I suppose, races and things are opening up again, and you're competing. And of course, you won the Dutch Championship. And of course, last weekend over there in Leeds, you claimed victory in the British Grand Prix over 20 kilometres. That was in Racewalking last Saturday, I believe it was, over in Leeds, because I got a nice text from your dad who was tuned into the live stream of Stradbally Balnacorty. I thought when he wasn't over in the field, and then, so you were competing in Leeds, so he was keeping an eye on both. But that was a good victory over there, Kate, last weekend.
Yeah. It's like, again, it's always good to get the win. I wasn't actually totally happy with my time,
right?
But it's good because you can reflect back on these. It's still kind of early in the season. It's pre-season really, but it's good because you can learn something from all these races. And it was kind of a stepping stone for me. There's a new Olympic distance, which is the 35k. So I'm training for that. So that's in December. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, there's always learning, and just, I suppose, trying to enjoy it more and appreciate what I'm doing.
Very good, very good. Yeah, and speaking of distances, you might maybe talk us through or give the listeners an idea of stepping up those distances now and times. And I suppose the Olympics, you mentioned it earlier on about that always being a dream, and is that where ultimately you want to get to? Yeah,
definitely. I think the Olympics are the pinnacle of our sport. So it was a dream since I was very young, and every Olympic since there's been something happen or some drama or whatever. But I do still believe, I suppose, that I can get there, and it's really what I want to do. I mean, Paris is only 3 years away, so it's no time really, in the grand scheme of things. So the work starts now. But I'm prepared to just give it everything and leave no stone unturned, and kind of just, all I can do is control my day-to-day things and what I'm doing, and put myself in the best possible position to get there. I, in 2019, went full-time training for the Tokyo Olympics in 2020, and things were going really, really, really well for that, and I was inside kind of the rankings. And then 2020 came, and then it was all cancelled. And then in 2021 I did some racing abroad, which was quite difficult, trying to travel because of the restrictions. And things were only kind of getting back. Well, a lot of countries were in lockdown and stuff. So I qualified for European Cup then, which was, a big race that you can get points basically for the Olympics. And I went away to altitude training to get ready for that, and ended up getting COVID over there. And it was I was just like, kind of like, I couldn't believe it was happening. It was like because I ended up missing the European Cup, and I was hoping to race a few weeks later. It was getting very, very close to crunch time and when you had to qualify, and I was still testing positive for weeks later and months later, and I couldn't race unless I tested negative. And it was so it was a massive blow, just as that year as well, for last year. But now I'm like, I remember someone saying to you, they're like, okay, your luck, you're doing all the things, you keep showing up, your luck is going to have to turn around, things are going to have to turn around, and it'll have to work out eventually. So now I feel like I'm on a it's a positive path now again, and I'm just even more motivated to make it happen, I suppose. And excited to try the new distance as well and see how that works. And it's a big year next year with like World Cup in Oman in March, and World Championships in Oregon, and European Champs are all in the 1 year. So just try to do all the things I can to be in the best possible shape I can. And I suppose for me as well, keeping my mindset in the right place, because if my the psychology of it all is so important. And for me, if I'm not in the right headspace or mental state, it's a disaster. I suppose for other athletes it's the same, but I know that I have to constantly, I suppose, deal with that, and constantly be aware, and do the things I have to do to keep that kind of stable state. Because I suppose athletics, and like all sports, there's it's a roller coaster of extremes. There's the highest highs, but then there's the lowest lows. And for me, I know like my mind can be my best friend and my worst enemy, so it's always keeping that in check, and that's the most important thing as well. So but it's like I think sport then sometimes it can be cutthroat, and it can be sometimes survival of the fittest, but you have to, the best athletes I think have to just adapt well, and to change and respond to change, and deal with the struggles, and it's by overcoming them. I don't think any athlete ever has a perfect season, or that everything goes to plan. It doesn't, and it's finding ways around that. And
how you bounce back, I suppose, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's and just your thoughts and your behaviours, and so I really find the psychology of it really interesting. And I'm working with Emma Saunders. She is down at WIT, and she's been brilliant, because for me the 35k is a real mental test. It's actually harder than running a marathon, if you get me, because it's walking. So about that you're going to have bad patches, and it's keeping the focus and how you kind of play mind games, or because your mind will want to give up before your body you get negative thoughts, and it's about kind of stopping those and reframing them. And I'm very lucky again to have her as well. She's brilliant. She always has stuff to be working on with me, but very lucky.
All positive as they say. And aside from athletics as well, I know Kate, you've been involved with the couple of the Waterford development squads and maybe minor squads there over the last couple of years. I was involved there myself in helping the lads, I suppose, with injury prevention and I suppose motivating them, and you had them running up the hills there in Colligan Wood as well. So that's another aspect of it you enjoy.
I think I just have a passion for sport, for health, fitness, wellness. I would have studied sports science, and I think no matter what area or what sport you're in, a lot of the stuff and a lot of the qualities and the behaviours or the attitudes are transferable, and it's the same high performance in general. It's a lot of the the same things that you need to do, then basics, and obviously then you have to be specific to your sport, but they're kind of nearly the 1% and 2% of things, but I think you need the foundation of stuff first, and that's kind of all the same, of the lifestyle and the routine and the sleep, nutrition, and just basic conditioning and fitness and mobility or whatever. But I was very, very lucky to work with the lads, and it was so enjoyable. I really, really missed it when COVID hit and I didn't see them. I really did miss, because a great bunch of lads, and it's just great to have some bit of an influence on them, or to answer questions, or to just help them. It gives a great gave me a great sense of satisfaction, and it was and fulfillment to try to I'm no expert, but just to try to pass on, I suppose, the things that I've learned and the stuff that I found maybe works, or from my my experience of being around a lot of, I suppose I've been lucky to be around a lot of high performance athletes, and so it was great working with the lads, and I learned so much from them. Even though it was a sport, a different sport than mine, it's still a lot of the qualities, as I said, are very applicable, and it's something I definitely would love to get involved in the future, is definitely to just help others and pass on the knowledge and information, to make people believe in themselves as well, or make them see that they have so much control over what they want to do, and that they also that they need to be, I suppose, accountable and need to take responsibility, but that they can reach the heights they want to get, and that it is possible. And I think sometimes people can give up too soon or too easy, or not have the belief. And so I'd like to have an influence. If I could even have an influence on one person, I'd be happy. And so that would be good.
Great stuff. And outside, I suppose, from the athletics training and everything that you put in behind the scenes, any particular sports then, Kate, that you get to sit down and maybe watch yourself, or is there anything that you, I suppose, maybe outside of your own training hours that you could maybe unwind, or how do you unwind, or do you unwind, as the fella says, I suppose?
It's something I actually have to kind of really work on, is not getting too obsessed. I have an addictive personality, and it can, the sport, and that's the problem then when I don't, if I went with the injuries, when I don't have the sport, because it can kind of consume your life, and it can be nearly too much, and it can be, because I suppose I would be quite passionate about the sport, and that can mean maybe I'm intense with it, but so sometimes it's important to try and get that balance, and to kind of look after your, I suppose, to emotionally regulate yourself, and to kind of step away from it at times. So that's something I definitely have to work on, and it's good. I do enjoy every sport. Really, it's kind of whatever's on, I think. No matter what, I respect anyone doing whatever their craft is, or whatever their area is, just seeing or knowing that what it takes to get there. So I really kind of respect, I suppose, high performance, and seeing other athletes, whatever their sport is, trying to be the best version of themselves, and trying to reach the heights that I want to reach in my sport, and seeing them do it, and knowing that behind the scenes there's so much more to it, and that they all have what they've done and the struggles and the obstacles and what they've done to get there. And do even just listen to podcasts or reading books and on maybe like just sports people in general. I think you can learn on the mindset and the way they deal with things.
It's a great. I suppose it's a drug. It's an addiction. I suppose we're all in love with it, and it just goes to show, I suppose, the role it plays in so many different aspects of not alone Waterford, but Ireland, worldwide, things like that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, sport. I've been so lucky with the opportunities that I've had, and it's kind of kind of nearly life to some people, if they don't have sport. And I think the lockdowns and stuff did show that, for everyone involved, whether it be the athlete and the backroom, team. And for me, seeing, my dad has such a passion for it that he's prepared to, the lengths he's prepared to go to help me, and coaches and how they all kind of invest in you, and and for them to have the belief, I suppose. And even last week in Leeds, Ray Flynn, who was another massive influence on me and who's helped me out as well. At the moment, he's been as the team manager or coach for the Racewalk, I think maybe 6 Olympics, including Tokyo. And how he sent me a message. Then afterwards, we had a big chat after the race and kind of reflected on everything. And he sends me quotes and stuff, and just a message about being proud of me, kind of basically. And it's just it means a lot. And kind of saying the best is yet to come, and the likes of seeing what you can do for other people and what sport can do for other people, is I suppose that pride of where you're from, and it kind of, when times in a match or a race, are tough, you can kind of nearly, so it gives you extra strength in, through the tough patches of whether it be a race or a match, to push on through when you're doing it for others, and when you're, you want to make other people proud. You are doing it for yourself, and you have to have that intrinsic motivation, yes, but it gives that extra bit of, when you want to give up, that you can think of others and the why you're doing it. And sport is just, as I said, putting on an Irish vest is always massive privilege. The people I've met through sport and the different types of personalities, and they're all just I've met so many wonderful people, so many that I've learned so much from. And so sport is it's a great anyone involved in sport at all knows that the impact it has on their life and how important it is. And sometimes people can say, oh sure, it's only a game, or it's only sport, and yes, it is true. And I suppose me last year not getting where I wanted to get, it does put things in perspective, and you see there's more to life. But then when you're actually deeply involved in it, and it's crunch time, and it's kind of you're in season, it's everything you get. It's the extremes you're prepared to go to, what you want to do to be the best you can. It's kind of that it's not just a game,
certainly, to get to the end product and where you want to get to. Well, Kate VEALE, it's been fascinating a story as always. Really appreciate you dropping into studio. Continued success, and thanks so much for being the first guest of our new edition of The Sporting Life.
Thank you so much. Thanks.